Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, we find out how to finance your first bricks and mortar store. Look at getting an idea off the ground with Australia's first indoor skydiving centre, and take in a lesson from SurveyMonkey Chief Executive David Koch. Hello and welcome back to KBB. We've got another packed show today with some great tips for entrepreneurs looking to take their business to the next level. Whether that's through a new store or new business concept altogether, there's something for everyone. But before we catch up with the experts, it's time for news you can use. If you want flexible employees who can adapt to a fast-moving business, you need to provide a flexible workplace in return. Unfortunately, Australian employers are the least open to flexible working arrangements of anyone in the Asia-Pacific region. A whopping 79% of local workers are unable to work remotely in their current position. With reduced absenteeism, improved productivity and lower operational costs on offer, it makes business sense for bosses to put flexible working arrangements in place. If you're unsure where to start, most employees say an ideal arrangement would be a 70-30 split between the office and working remotely. Pure Melt Chocolate is a handmade confectionery business looking to upgrade from market stalls to shopfront operation. But planning and financing that expansion isn't always easy. To ensure the business ticks all the right boxes to secure a business loan, we sent in finance expert Julia Bickerstaff.
So Sarah, tell me a bit about the Pure Melts business.
Started in September 2011. Well, before that, from home, I was just making chocolates for families and friends. And then I started at the local market, at the local farmers market. And I went from one market in Mullumbimby to the Byron and Bangalow markets. And now I do markets in Brisbane as well. And I wholesale as well. It's 85% cacao, just made from 4 ingredients. All organic, all fair trade, and the best ingredients I can find.
And so that was 3 years ago when you started selling it at the markets. And how has the business changed over the last 3 years?
Massively. I'm making a lot more chocolate. I went from selling a few hundred chocolates to a few thousand chocolates a week.
You've got 3 children.
Yeah.
And you're running the business. How do you sort of fit all that in?
It's a huge juggle. You know, at the moment I'm working 7 days a week and really long hours and loving everything that I do, but I'd love to have a little bit more time and space for, you know, everything.
And how have you funded it to date?
On the sniff of an oily rag. When I started, a friend lent me a few $1,000s, which I paid back in the first year, and it's pretty much been completely sustainable. The money's gone straight back in to buy new moulds, to buy new freezers, to upgrade the branding.
And so where would you like to see the business in, say, 3 to 5 years?
I still really enjoy selling direct to the consumer, and the market research is invaluable. But I'd love to be able to also work more on the business as opposed to just in the business. I really would love to open my own premises in Mullumbimby, my own chocolate shop, chocolate lounge, where people can come and enjoy my products.
And what are the barriers that are getting in the way of you doing that?
Finances. That's the only barrier. I'm ready to go.
So one of the interesting things to think about is that when you know what the running costs of a shop are, sort of the monthly outgoings, to work out then how much chocolate you need to sell each month to cover that base cost.
Yes.
Is that something that you've looked at?
In terms of covering the costs of the rent and the outgoings, I'd be covering that in terms of my production for wholesale. So it would be my wholesale premises as well.
And have you done anything about actually approaching anyone to borrow that money?
Well, just to my local bank. We've had preliminary conversations and they want to see figures over a period of time at this stage.
You need to be very on top of all the details about your business, be able to articulate your strategy and your finances confidently, and they need to know that you feel really confident you're going to make money out of this business. I think if you're the whole package then, it'll make them feel good about you.
After the break, Julia nuts out how Sarah can get her business loan over the line. This business tip brought to you by NAB, helping Australian business see more, not less. So, Craig, let's say I'm an IT company needing to buy new equipment. What are my finance options?
Well, Kochie, many people think they need to buy equipment, machinery or vehicles up front. But cash into assets can restrict cash flow and flexibility. So to address that, NAB provides a variety of ways to finance assets. Everything from leases to hire purchase to equipment loans. So it's worth sitting down with a NAB banker to discuss your situation.
And what size deposit would I need?
Look, in many cases, you can finance up to 100% of the purchase price with no additional security or cash outlay required.
Now, what about repayments, though?
Well, the beauty is we can create a repayment solution tailored to suit your cash flow needs. So if all your contracts commence at the start of the year, we can arrange to have your repayments reflect that fluctuation.
Wow, fabulous. Finance that fits. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
For more information and stories, visit nab.com.au/more-for-business. Sarah Wheeler has put a lot of work into her handmade business, Pure Milk Chocolate, and is now ready to expand into a bricks and mortar store. It's a big move. Let's hear finance expert Julia Bickerstaff's tips for funding that expansion.
What you find is often people will say, oh, but if I have the premises, people will come and buy. But unfortunately, that's often not the case. You know, the lovely thing about markets is that you've got lots and lots of other stalls and people go to the market and they go because they want to buy and they love choosing things, and it's a whole experience. It's really fantastic. When you've got the shop, people have to be wanting to come to you, and it's a totally different ball game. And so what you often find is that then there's a marketing cost on top of having the shop. So a very first thing I would do, and maybe you've got a good gut feeling about what it is, but actually to know exactly how many you need to sell to cover those costs. Because if you know that, that takes all the risk away from the bank.
So how would you advise me to best prepare for a meeting with a potential lender?
The thing that a lender really wants to feel comfortable with is that you really are understand and on top of the financial aspects of what you're getting yourself into. Because the more specific you are, it just gives them a good feeling that actually you do know what you're talking about. And especially that you understand it. It's not just that, you know, an accountant has put together some figures for you. Because to be honest, anybody can do a forecast of any numbers. It's not grounded in anything. What you want to be able to say is, look, I've done these forecasts and this is sort of the proof that I can do it. It's really good if you can find a commercial contract or something so that you can give yourself a sort of a buffer that you know that you're always going to sell so much each month. That's the sort of thing that a lender would love to see. Makes them feel confident. You've got a contract. They know you're going to cover your costs. For them, then it becomes a bit of a no-brainer. So what I would do is I would go and look for that now. If you put a sort of a contract side by side with your track record, plus some really good financial information about how your pricing and your costs work, then you've got a lovely package there. It's not risky for the bank. You can show how you can pay it back. Then I think you should really get a very favourable outcome.
Great, thank you.
Now it's time for Lessons from Legends. And this week we've got a minute with SurveyMonkey Chief Executive David Goldberg.
Hi, I'm Dave Goldberg. I'm visiting here from Silicon Valley, and here's a few tips I've learned being CEO of SurveyMonkey. First of all, I think it's really important to hire a great team. People talk about that all the time, but they don't always know how to do it. So how do I do it? Or I at least think the best way to do it is to find what you're good at and focus on those things for yourself, and find other people who are good at the things you're bad at, and hire people who like to do those things. That way, everyone's happy with what they're doing. People always love doing what they're good at, and people don't do a good job at what they don't like. And so building the right team means building a different set of strengths for a different group of people. My second tip is really to focus on asking questions. Being curious is, I think, one of the keys to being successful. People always think making decisions or listening, but I think asking questions and then listening to the answers is really critical. Obviously, at SurveyMonkey, we encourage you to ask lots of questions of your customers, of your employees, of your partners, but asking questions means asking them in a meeting, in any sort of way that you can to gather information so you can make better decisions.
Coming up, a behind-the-scenes look at Australia's first ever indoor skydiving centre.
This tip is brought to you by Shop Small Australia.
So Sian, why is it so important to embrace digital marketing?
It's essential for any business to be where their customers are. Today, that's online and through social channels.
And what are the benefits for small businesses?
It's a great way to find new customers and also to engage with your regulars. You don't need a big budget and it's very easy to measure your results.
Sounds perfect for small businesses. Where do they start?
I'd start with a Facebook page. It's where people are. You can ask your customers to like you online and start to build a community. Post photos of your latest stock online. Remind your customers why they should come back and spend with you.
So Sian, is there anything else we need to consider?
I would open a Google Plus account. Then, when your customers are searching for you on Google Maps, information about your opening hours or customer reviews would appear. Also, use video to showcase what makes your business unique. It's very powerful to post these on YouTube and then link them through to your website. Remember, dip your toe in the water, be brave. It's easier than you might think.
Great advice.
For more digital tips for your business, attend one of the Shop Small events. Visit shopsmallaustralia.com to register today.
I Fly Down Under was started by two former SAS soldiers, Danny Hogan and Wayne Jones. Setting up Australia's first indoor skydiving centre, they faced challenges securing finance and educating their market. But with some hard work and diligent research, are now flying high. We caught up with Danny and Wayne to find out how they did it.
Here we are at Australia's first ever indoor skydiving centre, set up by a couple of ex-military guys, Danny and Wayne. Let's go get their story.
So a very cool business you've got here, gentlemen. What sort of skills and experiences did you take from your military background coming into a business environment?
There's a lot of skill sets that we're able to adopt in the military, Alex, and I guess the one that's of most important to the business model is the fact that our detailed planning has helped us through a lot of the phases of this.
Okay, and Wayne, you've had the facility going for 5-6 weeks now. What's the take-up been like?
We've seen a fantastic response. The military are using it now, the skydiving community are using it, a lot of first-timers, a lot of tourists coming from all over Australia, so it's been a great response.
That's a fantastic result because it's obviously a big risk bringing a new business concept into Australia. What other sort of challenges did you face?
The main challenge was educating the market in Australia that these facilities existed. It's the first time that one has been built in Australia, but it's not the first time it's been built in the world. They're all very successful business models. There's over 45 wind tunnels worldwide. So we took a very meticulous planning approach where we educated ourselves first and foremost. A lot of research went into it, 4 years in the making before we commenced introducing this to the Australian public.
Would you say to other entrepreneurs that that's quite a feasible way? Then if you see something terrific overseas, a proven model, that you should have confidence to bring it to Australia?
I guess that's case-driven, specific businesses. We knew this one would work in Australia because we knew that we had the backing and that baseline revenue stream of skydivers and military, and then the only real risk was introducing the tourism side of the marketing. So I say that's, if someone sees a good idea overseas and they wish to bring it into Australia, make sure they do their research first to know that it'll be proven here.
You obviously had to raise a bit of capital to get the project off the ground. Can you talk us through that process?
Yeah, look, I guess we started by traditional means through private investment. We did need a lot of capital to commence the project. We then, as we built our team around us, we decided to go down the route of an initial public offer. We wrote a prospectus and we conducted the IPO towards the end of 2012. With no broker support, we raised $12 million through that process, and then we listed on the stock exchange the following January of 2013.
Given it's sort of a really traditional business with a clear path to cash flow, was it quite an easy pitch to investors in what's a sort of cash-hungry, resource-driven listing market?
The skydiver and the military community understood these, so they were very excited at the prospect of being able to invest in a company like ours. The education piece was to the average investor that hasn't seen one of these business models before, and it was making that relation between what we were doing to what they're comfortable with. An infrastructure type business whereby it can make a lot of it and has the potential to make a lot of money.
And Danny, was it both of you guys going into the boardrooms and getting in front of people and giving the pitch?
It was a combination of tackling a number of resources, venture capitalists through to sophisticated investors. We were able to attract 2 cornerstone investors that followed us through our whole series of decision points right up to IPO, and they're still with us today.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much,
Look forward
Alex.
to flying with you, Alex.
Well, they've certainly achieved a lot, bringing a new business concept to Australia and going on to float it on the stock market. As the guy said there, it was all about educating people about their product, meticulous planning and detailed market research, just like a good SAS soldier. It is a smart business. Coming up, another handy tech tip from Val Quinn, and I filled one of your best business questions in Ask Kochie.
The search for Australia's worst website is on. With 100,000 in prizes and digital makeovers to give out, we're going to change the lives of some Aussie businesses in serious need. And if you don't have the worst site, but could do with a better one, there's a prize for you too. Head to rescuemysite.com.au to get involved.
This segment brought to you by NAB, helping Australian business see more, not less.
Hey, I'm Adam Haralampo and I'm the owner of Justin Lane Pizzeria and Bar and Cavalier Bar and Supper, and we're here on Burleigh Heads on the Gold Coast. Justin Lane was a bit of a miracle story in a lot of regards. I decided to take a punt and open up in the middle of the GFC. It made money from day one, which I was very fortunate about. And in 2013, I decided to open up Cavalier. I think that Justin Lane and Cavalier both don't just offer good service and good drinks and good food, but they offer an overall experience and package. I think it's really important to be hands-on in the business, but I think you've got to focus on your strengths and work on those, which I have, and delegate out your weaknesses to other people. Finding the right staff, obviously skill set's really important, but personality's the most important thing to me. You can teach someone with a great personality to keep up a high standard of service, a high standard of food and drinks, product knowledge, and just have consistency all round. Every day brings some form of a challenge, but you've just got to be willing to evolve and change and give customers what they need. I've made a few changes in Cavalier recently after being open nearly a year. If something doesn't sit right in the business, I want to change it. The venue looked really opulent, which was amazing, but I suppose the customer base made an assumption that the venue was really expensive. And because of that, I wanted to change customers' perception. I believe we have a really approachable and affordable price and venue. And so I've just made a few changes that will subtly tone the place down a little bit, and hopefully we can move forward. We've won a lot of awards for our pizzas. We recently got voted in the top 15 pizzerias in Australia. And I'm diversifying and starting up my own frozen and fresh home-range pizzas. I started this company because I definitely see a gap in the market. I don't really see many high-quality pizzas out there in the frozen and fresh market for people to take home. My first venture, I'd saved minimal amount of money and I started the venture by myself. But in terms of the second and third ventures that I got myself into, NAB have been a great help in allowing me to expand. Look, I am really busy having 2 businesses and launching this third one, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I absolutely love business. I'm one of those freakish people that on my days off, I actually get a bit of a kick out of designing business plans and watching them come to fruition. NAB have played a role within both businesses. They've just made it an easy process to be able to expand and grow. The banking managers are quite easy to talk to. I can bounce ideas off people. My current bank manager is Cheryl. I can talk to her human to human as well as bank manager to a customer, I suppose, which has been a really positive thing for my business. So yeah, without them I wouldn't be here right now.
For more tips and stories, visit nab.com.au/more-for-business. It's Tech Tip time with Val Quinn.
Businesses wanting to stand out from the crowd with impressive social media graphics no longer have to spend thousands of dollars. With Canva, its simple design and interface makes it easy for everyone to produce great-looking work. It has thousands of great-looking professional layouts, millions of images, and hundreds of fonts. Everyone can finally design beautiful graphics, posters, flyers, business cards, and more. And when it comes to licensing the images you use, you just pay once for the design you've created, and that's it.
Now, this week's Ask Kochie question is from Jonathan via Facebook. Jonathan says, I'm starting a small business hiring sound and visual equipment for events. What's the best way to insure my equipment? Good question, Jonathan. Let's look at all the cover you need. First up, public liability is a must-have for all businesses. This covers any potential liability to third parties for personal injury or property damage. Now, wrapped up in that should be products liability, which covers you where your product has caused injury or damage to a third party. Useful if you're renting equipment out to other people. To protect the equipment itself, you'll need equipment and possibly studio cover. And lots of insurers will roll this and public liability insurance into one package for you to make it easier. Professional indemnity is also a must-have. Once you decide the level of cover, get some quotes and protect yourself as soon as possible. Well, that's it for this week. Don't forget to check out KBB Coaching if you're after some affordable business advice wherever and whenever you want. It's a beauty. kbbcoaching.com.au is the place to be. We'll catch you next time. Next week on KBB, we look at improving your work-life balance. Sit down with the First Lady of Australian Food, Maggie Beer, and get a lesson from Big Commerce co-founder Eddie McLarney. In the meantime, jump onto kbbtv.com.au for more lessons from legends, extended interviews, and much, much more.